I learned 16 big lessons in the last 6 months, and I want to share them with you. So let's get to lesson number 1. What does the customer need to believe in order to buy? That's my learning number 1. I ask this question every single time, is what does the customer or the client need to believe in order to buy something from you? That is the most important thing. Sometimes, do they need to believe that they are in pain? Do they need to believe that they have a gap? Do they need to believe in the thing that you're selling? Do they need to believe that what they're doing right now is not working and what you're offering is working? Can you answer the question, which is, what does the customer need to believe in order to buy from you? That one thing has changed the way I position all kinds of offers and all kinds of content and all kinds of sales, because that asking that one question is, what does the customer need to believe in order to buy? That's lesson number 1. Here's lesson number 2. There's a great book called The Happiness Advantage. And this guy, Sean Aker, who wrote the book, he sums up this entire happiness advantage in the research that says, if you are positive, you're 31% more productive in your brain work than if you're negative. Like, think about that. If you're just positive, you get a 31% better outcome than if you're negative. So instead of disparaging the competition, instead of denigrating someone else, instead of putting other people down, if you can just be positive in your interactions, in your conversation, in the mood, you're 31% more productive. So what is the language pattern? What is the framing? What are the stories that you can use to put yourself in a positive frame? That is lesson number 2. Here's lesson number 3. Great Paulo Coelho quote. He says, when we strive to become better than we are, everything around us becomes better with us. I love this so much. When we strive to become better than we are, everything around us becomes better with us. A lot of times when we look at our lives and there is a problem or we feel stuck or we feel like we're complaining, what we're doing is we're just looking at the things that are negative in our lives. And it's okay. You and I do that. In fact, I do that. I'm human just like you. But when we say, hey, when we strive to become better than we are, can we actually say, man, how can I look at the situation? How can I become better? My coach always asks me, she's like, Sharran, when you're stuck, ask the question, what is the personal growth lesson here? And it gives you a chance to become better, because so when we strive to become better than we are, everything around us becomes better with us. That's lesson number 3. Here's lesson number 4. Guilt lives in the past. Worry lives in the future, but peace lives in the present. Guilt lives in the past. Worry lives in the future, but peace lives in the present. So a lot of times when I think about it, when I feel guilty, I realize very quickly it is something about the past that I did or have done that I'm unclear or out of integrity with, and I just need to resolve that. Now, the interesting part about that is that guilt causes worry for the future. So I need to know that if I'm just feeling guilty, I have to accept that I'm feeling guilty, and it's okay. And then I need to go and make peace with that thing. Maybe I apologize. Maybe I solve it. Maybe I fix it with karma. Whatever I do, I know that guilt lives in the past. But if I'm worried about something, I know that worry lives in the future. There is a great Harvard study that was done which said that 85% of the things that we worry about never actually come to be, but 50% actually do, right? And so worrying about the future is okay, but at least we know that if we feel worried, that it's the future that we're thinking about, and we have a chance to go into the future and say, hey, I can't predict, but how can I prepare? But most importantly, don't let that waver your peace of the present. You can't feel peace in the past. You can't feel peace in the future. You can only feel peace in the present. That's why a lot of times when you are watching a beautiful sunset, the goal is not to capture the moment on camera. The goal is to actually accept the moment of peace right then. It's not a cool thing to say. It is the peace can only be felt in the moment, in the present. So think about this. Guilt lives in the past. Worry lives in the future, but peace lives in the present. That's lesson number 4. Here's lesson number 5 is you earn trophies at practice. You just pick them up at the competitions. This hit home really hard. You earn trophies at practice, but you pick them up at competitions. I'll give you a crazy sales example for this. A lot of salespeople, especially if you're selling coaching or consulting or mortgage or real estate or insurance, just because you're a good salesperson doesn't mean that all you do is compete. That's like saying if you were Michael Jordan, you would just go from game to game to game to game to game. Right? And that's what a lot of people do. There's not a lot of practice in between. And what happens in the average NFL season in football? People practice 4 to 5 times a week so that they can play for 20 minutes on the weekend. Right? That's how powerful this is. So you earn trophies at practice, but you just pick them up at the competitions. My question for you is, what is something that you do often that makes you money, that makes you win, that gives you the results? What is the corresponding, even a little bit of practice associated with that? Is there a skill-based role play? Is there a bunch of deep work? Do you actually like rework and prep for the meeting that you're going to do? What is the practice that you do? Because we earn trophies at practice. You just pick them up at the games. Here's the next one, which is unlike the stomach, the brain doesn't alert you when it's empty. I love this so much. Unlike the stomach, the brain doesn't alert you when it's empty. Now, you can perceive this in so many different ways, but unlike the stomach, like if you get hungry, you're going to get like, whoop, I'm hungry right now. However, the brain does not alert you when it's empty, when it doesn't have ideas, when it's blank, when you're missing something. You know, there's this phrase that bothers me, but it actually makes a lot of sense, which is you don't know what you don't know, right? And so that's why having advisors and mentors is a really powerful thing. There's a great quote which says, the person who can define the problem better, people automatically assume that they have the solution. If you could just define your problem better than the competition, people automatically just assume that you have the solution. So how can you say, I don't know the answer to this. Who can I talk to that can give me some perspective? What can I read that can give me some insight? Here's the next one, which is, our kids owe us nothing. We owe them everything. Our kids owe us nothing. We owe them everything. As a parent myself with 2 children, I think about this a lot. Our kids owe us nothing and we owe them everything, right? Because what did they, like, we're like, hey, you're old enough. Go take out the trash. You're old enough. You need to earn your own allowance. You're old enough. Like, buy your own car. You need to, like, did you know how hard your parents had to work to send you to school? Did you know how hard your parents have to work day and night to put a roof over your head? Like, we talk to our children sometimes like they owe us something. We brought them into the world. They didn't want to come. It was our choice to do all of this. We chose to bring them and give them a better life. We chose to build all of that. They don't owe us anything. We owe them everything. And as soon as I switch that mindset, by the way, I still catch myself, and with full honesty, I still catch myself thinking and saying, when my kids push my buttons, I still like sometimes will say things that I do not mean. And I've kind of gotten better at it, but I've realized this with this phrase and this learning, which is, our kids owe us nothing and we owe them everything. Here's the next one, which is, results that appear impossible actually come from the simple daily work that we innocently procrastinate on. That's like, I ask myself that question, what do I want? Like, if you want 6-pack abs, you're innocently procrastinating on not hydrating, on not sleeping, on actually not eating that salad, not going for a walk, not standing up at that desk. Results that appear impossible actually come from the simple daily work that we innocently procrastinate on. So the question for you is there something that you really want to achieve? Is there something remarkable that you really want to do? And if that you forced yourself to actually do that one thing today, what would that small thing be? Would it be as simple as creating this video for you? Would it be as simple as writing the first 3 sentences for your next book? Would it be as simple as saying, man, I need to get stronger and lose some weight. I'm going to drop down and do 2 push-ups right now, 2, or maybe 1. Because when you do that, results that appear impossible actually come from the simple daily work that we innocently procrastinate on. The next one is one of my favorites. It's only delusional until it works. Everybody has these great ideas, and they talk themselves out of these remarkable ideas that seem far-fetched. Was Travis Kalanick thought about Uber, and he's like, why would anybody hail a cab from an app? Well, now it is a standard practice. When you think about Zillow, why would anybody look up the value of their home online? It's a private thing, but now it made it a public thing. Why would anybody just go on an app and order food or order ice cream to be delivered to you? How did anybody think about that? How crazy did that sound? And pieces of social media started where people were just posting pictures of the lunch that they ate. And now the platform completely evolved. The things that we think are delusional are probably just a little early for our time. And when it clicks, that's when you are the genius. Here's the next one. Be soft on the person and hard on the problem. Many of us manage people. Many of us work with partners. Many of us have clients. Many of us have customers. Many of us have bosses. Many of us have affiliate partners. Many of us work with a lot of different people who we jointly work on stuff together, but you don't want to be a pushover, right? We all want a hard look at the problem, but a soft interaction with people. You don't want the person you're talking to get enraged and discouraged by you working with them. It doesn't matter even if you have that authority associated with it. You want to be soft on the person and hard on the problem. And one of the ways that you do that is to change your tonality. So if I were talking to you and we were working on a problem that was messy, maybe say we were working on $1 million problem that we needed to solve in the next 30 days, I could explain to you, I'd say, hey, Jimmy, this seems like a pretty important problem for the strategic future of this business. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah, and he'd say, yeah, I totally agree, Sharran. You and I should really kind of work together to get this done together. Are you open to kind of like working and brainstorming and like collaborating to make this work? Oh yeah, I'd be happy to. Can you and I make sure that we're really hard on this problem, that we really work hard on it, like push it hard? You and I are a team, but we got to push this problem pretty hard. Once you establish a bond like that, you realize that it's in a lot of ways we against the problem. Be soft on the person, but hard on the problem, because you have no idea when the collaboration actually kicks in. Because a lot of times what people do, instead of judging and evaluating people on their worst ideas, I like to judge and evaluate and celebrate people on their best ideas. I want to take their best ideas, and that is my benchmark, not the worst ones, because the worst ones are just work in progress. So be soft on the person, but hard on the problem. And the way you do that is with tonality and buy-in before you start to attack the problem overall. I really am excited to share this next one with you, which is the way to operationalize kindness is to assume that everyone was sent to teach you something. Think about that for a second. The way to operationalize kindness is to assume that everyone was sent to teach you something. And the problem is, sometimes we walk into a room and we have no idea who the people are, and you're like, man, I'm better. I'm cooler. I have a bigger brand. I have a bigger platform. I have a bigger title. I make more money. All of that may be true. But if you wanted to be kind, what do? Here's what you do. You have to operationalize kindness. So the way to operationalize kindness is to assume that everyone was sent to teach you something. That's it. I try to remind myself before I go to a party, before I go to a meeting, before I go to a networking event, before I'm speaking on stage, because I know I'm going to meet a lot of people and I'm there in service of them. So I need to operationalize the kindness. So I think about this. The way to operationalize kindness is to assume that everyone was sent to teach you something. The next one. Please, if you're not paying attention, this may be the one you should pay attention to. The greatest gift you can give someone is genuinely making them feel important. I don't know how else to say this, but if you can write an email to make someone feel important, you have made their day. If you can recognize somebody on your platform, on stage, on social media, in your email, in your Slack, in your network group, the greatest gift you can give someone is to genuinely make them feel important. So ask yourself this question: not who can I show gratitude to or who can I show appreciation of? The greatest gift you can give someone is to make them feel important. Ask the question, how do you make somebody feel important? Next one. Unspoken expectations are just premeditated resentments. I think this is a Neil Strauss quote, and I wrote this down, and I love this so much. It says, unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments. One of the things that I will actually call out is I have a lot of, I advise a lot of influencers and big team leaders and CEOs of companies, folks that we've invested in, and many of them have partnerships. And I tell each one of them, just because you've been friends and just because you get along well with each other and just because you have good work ethic and relationship, doesn't mean you should not have what I call a mutual expectations document, right? And the mutual expectation can be as simple as, hey, I work 4-day work weeks. I take Wednesdays off, whatever it may be, right? You take your mutual expectations and you make sure that you socialize them with the person that is most important to you in a lot of ways. I think even spouses, like partners, should do this in a lot of ways because it allows for the simplest of issues to get ironed out even before the resentment kicks in. Unspoken expectations are just premeditated resentments. And we think that only if it's a sophisticated expectation we have to say it, but I'm a big fan of stating all the baseline expectations. Hey, I believe in getting all my work done. I believe in like 24-hour response times to emails. I get really irritated when people are unresponsive. I like to be high integrity on money. I don't like to be a money balance between each other. Hey, I want to be soft on the person and hard on the problem. Hey, like I tell my wife, don't ever tell me what to do because I get irritated. And because if she's kind, and if anyone's kind to me, the way to my heart is just kindly ask me to do something and I will go to the ends of the earth for you. And now my family knows that, which is why my 8-year-old daughter completely takes advantage of that, which is okay. But I have no kind of unspoken expectations with them, right? So remember this, if something is broken in any kind of relationship in your life, know that there's probably an unspoken expectation, which is actually generating a premeditated resentment. So if there's a way for you to clear the playing field and say, hey, let's write a mutual expectations document, or just talk it out with your spouse or partner over dinner saying, hey, when I do this, it makes me feel like this. When you do this, it makes me feel like this. Can you help me think through that so that we can be on the same page? Unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments. The next one. The only thing more expensive than branding is to rebrand. Our board member, Guy Gamzo, said this to us in a board meeting, and I immediately wrote this down. It says, the only thing more expensive than branding is to rebrand. The power of that is so thoughtful because it allows you to say, hey, let's go figure out the identity of who we are. Let's go figure out what we're trying to accomplish. Let's go figure out what we're trying to build, because now we truly know who we are, and that way we don't have to end up with this rebranding process. Now, all of us end up rebranding. I've actually seen very few rebrandings actually go well. It's very hard to do. The only thing more expensive than branding is to rebrand. So be your true authentic self upfront first, so that you don't have to hit the reset button, have to do anything later. That also means that if you work with an agency or someone outside of you to create and build and develop this brand so that you can figure out who you are and tell that story to the world, it is way easier upfront than to stop and do it all over again, because then you have to reset all the expectations, all the things that you built, because then it goes back to the previous one, which is you have unspoken expectations, which are premeditated resentments, right? The only thing more expensive than branding is to rebrand. I got two more for you. This is a German proverb. Even crooked logs make straight fires. Think about that for a second. Even crooked logs make straight fires. And all we're saying is there's various ways to do the same thing and to do it well. There's not only one way to get six-pack abs. There's not only one way to make $10 million. There's not only one way to build a business. There's not only one set of traits for a perfect founder or CEO. There's not only one way to have a great marriage. There's not only one way to build a brand on social media. There's not only one way to do anything, right? There's different ways to do different things. It just has to be a kind way, the right way, the real way, the predictable way, the profitable way. Everybody doesn't have to have a linear straight path. You could have this crooked path of getting there, the crooked log, but you will still light the same straight fire. So my offer to you is your log does not need to be the same as my log, but it can still make a straight fire. So be totally happy, totally content, and totally in tune with who you are and what you're building. Build it your way, build it the kind way, build it the real way, build it the productive way, build it in your image, because your uniqueness is what the world wants to see. So even crooked logs make straight fires. This is my last one. I want to talk about flow for a second. A lot of people call it a performance state, right? Flow is a performance state, which means that if I am playing the cello, or I'm a musician and I'm playing the guitar or the piano, and I get in front of an audience and I can just play, and I don't even know what's happening, I'm just playing and I'm in flow and I'm just delivering, or I'm an artist and I'm singing and I'm just in flow and I don't have to think about the words or the scales or the tones, or I'm a football quarterback and I can just call the play, get the snap, make the pass. Right? When I do that, I'm in flow, and it's a great performance state. If you're a salesperson and you're in the conversation and you are given an objection and you're in flow, so you're able to handle it with ease, with charisma, with great tonality, with great poise, that's flow in a performance state. But flow is not a practicing state. You cannot be in flow when you practice. You can only be in flow when you perform. Right? And that's the important thing that I learned, which was the practicing state is hard. The practicing state takes work. When I'm role playing, I'm going back and forth. I'm like, oh, that didn't sound right. I need to get better tonality. Oh, I missed that word. I didn't get the right framing. I didn't get the right pausing. I didn't actually, when I'm selling on this on stage, I didn't put my water down the right way. I'm practicing, and practice is hard. Practice takes time. Practice takes focus. Practice takes you pushing the boundaries. Practice is outside your comfort zone. Practice is not flow. Practice is ensuring that you can get the muscle memory over and over. You can get the state completely dialed in. My friend, he's a pianist, and he tells me whenever he practices, he only practices the things that he doesn't get right, that he doesn't understand how to play perfectly every time. So even if there was, 3 sheets of music that he had to play, and he already knew how to play 1 well and 3 well, he doesn't practice 1 and 3 again. He only practices 2 over and over and over and over and over, because what it does, it gives him the confidence that he can play that in a flow state. Flow is not a practicing state. Flow is a performance state. And what that means is it goes to the other learning that I wrote down, which was you earn trophies at practice and you just pick them up at the games. Practice is not a flow state. Practice is supposed to be hard. Practice is supposed to be wonky. Practice is supposed to be uncomfortable. Practice is supposed to be difficult. Practice is you're supposed to do it outside your comfort zone. Practice is like lifting weights where you work your muscles and that it tears the fibers, and that's how you grow. So that when you grow, when you have mastery, you can be in flow states when you perform. That's the cool part about all of this. These are the 16 lessons that I've learned in the last few months that I wanted to share with you. If you liked one of these, can you just tell me which one you liked below? And I would really appreciate it. That way I can make more like this for you.